I decided to believe in God. Now, I know what you're thinking. You don't decide to believe in God, you either do or you don't. So, let me explain. This pandemic is changing me in ways that I hadn't imagined. Before this pandemic, I was living in China. It's a quiet life. I was content. I biked for 12 kilometers every day. I loved my job. I loved my friends. Life was peaceful. One day, I'd come home from work and I'd start cooking. The next day, I'd meet some friends for a beer. I would hike the next day. Then I decided to go on a vacation for about 20 days. That's when COVID hit. I couldn't get back to China. What was a 20-day vacation turned into a 2-year ordeal. Now I'm in a country where pandemic is raging like a wildfire. I'm confined to my room. Every day is like the Groundhog Day. Wake up, work, jog, cry, sleep, repeat. Initially, the change was good. But with every passing day, it was apparent that there was no visible light at the end of the tunnel. We lost some distant family members, some friends, and a whole lot of the population. When my life was filled with bike rides, friends, hikes, and work, I didn't have the time to face my inner demons. I was distracted. But when you're confined to a single room for almost 2 years, your inner demon becomes your company. You have no choice but to face it. And I did. One of the biggest takeaways from this pandemic is the fact that life is fragile. The fact that you're alive and not in pain is really just a series of lucky scenarios. As I mentioned, I didn't go out anywhere except for some essential trips. One of them was a trip to the local bank. I started feeling the fever in the next couple of days. I caught the dreaded COVID. Luckily, it was just an unpleasant week of coughing, fever, and not being able to smell anything. I know some friends who've been traveling extensively throughout this pandemic but haven't even caught so much as a cold. Surprisingly, I was not afraid of COVID. Even while I was suffering through the week, my confinement and the prospect of never leaving my tiny room terrified me much more than the COVID. It brought out this irrational fear. I began having nightmares about cancer showing up in my body just out of the blue without much fanfare. This led to a weird phobia and a bottomless downward spiral. I've been working with my therapist about this fear for many weeks now. This fear is not about cancer. It's about not being in control. It's about the fear of unknown, fear of leaving everything behind. It's not surprising I've experienced this in the middle of the pandemic while not being able to go outside. This is part of my demon I've been facing. This fear of not being in control. It's not even that. This fear that comes from knowing and truly feeling for the first time that I am not in control. That's what this pandemic represents, and that's what fear represents. There was no distraction. When I'm out with friends, working on a project, shooting a film, flirting with a girl, I don't think about this. I'm living my life. I'm not thinking about my life. But sit in a room for many days with nothing but your thoughts, there's no telling what would come out. My therapist asked me a question. What do you think happens to your consciousness after death? I shrugged. I don't know. Nothing. Just emptiness. She said she knows what happens after her death because she decided it already. And if I want, I can decide and design my after-death world. She said it could even be any fictional world that I'm into, like the series Good Place. Let's assume if there is something after death. After death, I'm finding myself in this cute small town filled with my favorite dead people. Some twisted idea of a heaven.
You, Eleanor Shellstrop, are dead. Your life on Earth has ended, and you are now in the next phase of your existence in the universe.
Cool.
I noticed that this idea affected my fear of cancer. If I know for sure that I'm going to go to some place after my death, any struggle that I face with any disease should then be temporary. So cancer didn't bother me that much if I'm going to a place after. This comforted me. If you know something is temporary, then your tolerance of the suffering goes up because you know it's coming to an end one way or the other. I told her that this thought does bring me comfort, but to decide my own afterlife feels like cheating. She replied, why not? It's unknown anyway, so deciding your fate when you're faced with the unknown is not a bad idea. Plus, it's not a game, there are no rules. This line of thought blew my mind because that's the essence of religion. Essentially, I took a scenic route and arrived at the gates of religion. I still despise organized religions, don't get me wrong, but I now get the idea behind believing in something more powerful, more ethereal than yourself. In a way, we are all adrift in an indifferent universe. We can act like adults, and we act well, sometimes we believe in our act. But deep inside, I feel that we are all children perpetually searching for that parent who's in control. So we are at peace with not being in control. And that parent figure is God for millions around the world. I admit I've always felt superior to religious people. It's as if I know something that they don't. There was patronizing, sometimes even mockery. Look at you believing in an imaginary person up in the clouds. But I don't feel so superior anymore. In fact, this past couple of years has brought me down to my knees. I haven't the faintest idea of what's happening around me. I do not know anything and I am alone. I get it now. Tomorrow, if the world opens up and I am let out, I still will carry this with me. Belief in a God is not just about believing in miracles or believing in a mysterious figure up in the sky. It can also be this. When faced with the unknown, it's deciding your fate. Deciding that you're not existentially alone. Or deciding and designing your afterlife. Even if it is a conscious decision, it has the potential to make your journey a little less dreadful. So, here I say again, I've decided to believe in God.